Good morning, good afternoon, welcome to this week's episode of Faith, Lies, and Confusion. I am Godless Reggie, and this is NJ. How are you today?
I'm fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
Good, good. Same here. Enjoying this good winter weather of the day. Not snowing or nothing like that, so I'll take it as a win.
Right. You can step outside, but still enjoy your hibernation because it is winter time.
Absolutely. So today's episode is titled "The Dead Sea Scrolls." Well, this is a topic that I hear a lot whenever I'm having debates with people on TikTok. One thing that I typically hear them say is when I ask them for proof, they tend to go towards the Dead Sea Scrolls. Um, I don't really look at it as proof or evidence. And at the same time, I really don't know exactly what the Dead Sea Scrolls entails. So I figured since I don't know something, best look into it, study it, review it, and see if there's any validity in their argument. How you feel about that, NJ?
Uh, Valid way to go about proving your point, especially avoiding going back and forth with them about the Dead Sea Scrolls. But some of us have those families that save everything. Like they still got like 50-year-old grandpa's kindergarten assignments where he put his hand on the paper and they
Hmm.
made a turkey out of it. But it's that's how I see the Dead Sea Scrolls. So somebody was carrying their backpack with their homework assignment that they had done while they were studying somewhere else on the continent, and they got tired of carrying it, and they said, you know what, I'm gonna tuck this here and I'm gonna come back for it one day, and they never did because they figured out that it really wasn't important. And somebody came along. Uh, what was that in the last 50 years?
Hmm.
When were they found in the 40,
Yeah, I think
45, 50, something
I
like
think
that?
it's 45 50 here.
Right. They was looking for a goat, right? That's the story. They were looking for a goat.
I'm not sure because I'm honestly I'm kind of ignorant on this. I do know that they found it in the 40s and 50s, and I'll tell you the exact date once I go to my sources. But
Right.
truthfully, I really don't know a whole lot about the Dead Sea Scrolls except
Oh, this
my
it's
opinion. And my opinion is a lot of times that people think that just because something's old is better or
right.
it's true.
Right.
And I
You're
don't feel like
about to be enthralled then. You are about to be enthralled because you're going to love this. We're all going to have a good chuckle today. OMG.
the reason why I just said what I said is because, like, again, obviously, growing up, you hear your parents talk about things. Oh, in my day. To me, just what I got in my hand right here just proves a lot of that, right? You're not gonna tell me with a straight face because I grew up in kind of the old school but modern era, right? I know for a fact that the weed that y'all had back in the day was not better than the weed we have now. No, no, it's not. No, it's not. You didn't have the technology. You didn't know what you know now. The weed we have right now, this weed right here is better than any weed they had back in the day. Acapulco Gold, all that fucking bullshit. I know for a fact it is because you got no way of measuring the THC level with it, so it's not even
A-
possible.
Any weed back in the day that was better than ours was burned. Fields upon fields of it burned to the ground by
Uh-huh.
U.S. military on their war against drugs.
Yep. And now that I
And that
know,
is why Snoop Dogg can do whatever he wants because we're going to keep on buying them strains of weed.
right, I know now that a lot of the narco cocaine routes were originally the marijuana routes. Now they are the human trafficking, smuggling routes. They just evolved. They went from cocaine. I mean, they went from weed. They went to cocaine to human beings. It's more profitable for human beings, and it's easier, and there's less time if you get caught. So I get it. I definitely get it. But back to the point of today's show, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Let me do a little bit of reading on it. As I like to tell people, what's up, Erica? I usually cross-reference my sources because at the end of the day, none of us were probably there, so it's best to get several different points of views. A lot of things that I hear people say whenever I pull up sources, whether if it's uh, Google, Wikipedia, Chat GPT, oh, you're gonna believe what they say. Okay, everybody can't be lying. A lot of times there's boxes on there too that you can click on and find where they got their sources from as well. So I'll start with a basic one, the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Google, what they say about it. I mean, excuse me. Okay, the Dead Sea Scrolls are a collection of ancient Jewish manuscripts discovered in Judean desert between 1947 and 1956. They are considered one of the most important archaeological discoveries in modern history. The discovery in 1947, Bedouin, that's Bedouin, shepherd discovered the first Dead Sea Scroll. The scrolls were found in 11 caves near the ruins of Qumran on the northwestern shore of the Dead Sea. The scrolls were preserved by the dry dark caves. The scrolls include fragments of the Hebrew Bible, prayers, hymns, legal documents, and religious writings. The scrolls date from the 3rd century BCE to the 1st century CE. Most of the scrolls were written in Hebrew, with some in Aramaic or Greek. The scrolls were written on parchment, papyrus, and copper. The significance: the scrolls provide insight into the cultural and spiritual landscape of the Second Temple's period. They help scholars date the Hebrew Bible to no later than 70 CE. They help scholars reconstruct the history of Palestine. They help scholars understand the emergence of Christianity and Rabbinic Judaism. Okay, that's interesting that most of what we know has been basically solidified and proven by something that we know today. So it kind of contradicts, people like, oh, well, the Old Testament, this, that, and the third, because you're basing this shit off of what we found today to prove it. You're muted, MJ.
Thank you for telling me that, because I would have had a whole conversation with myself.
What were you saying though?
No, I had only made it as far as woo, because what you said is fact, and there's no way to dispute it. There's just it. It's a lost homework assignment. That's once I formed it in my head like that a long time ago. I've never been able to see it any other way. It's just a lost homework assignment.
Right, and it adds more confusion in a way, well, to my brain. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, okay, so you're saying that these are older and these are back farther and farther, but still the shit is still in three different fucking languages. So what is the beginning of this now? I forget who it was. Somebody told me months and months and months ago that they found evidence to prove that the Old Testament was originally written in Greek, then translated into Hebrew. And it was a video they wanted me to watch. In the video, I don't know, maybe it's ADHD that I have. I haven't been diagnosed with this, I'm just guessing. Maybe it's ADHD or ADD, but I'm not going to sit there and watch some 20, 30-minute video, right? So I really didn't invest into it, but I'm assuming this is some of what they're talking about, because now again it adds more confusion to it.
A whole lot of confusion. And I don't, and that's what I don't understand. It's like everything that they find that they can convince themselves is about that book is supposed to hold relevance and significance in my now everyday life. And I don't understand how they come to those conclusions.
Mm-mm. Me neither. It literally has nothing to do with me. I'm not one of those three people. I'm not Greek. I'm not Hebrew. I'm not Aramaic. Nobody from my lineage can speak or understand any of them languages unless they sat there and studied it or it was forced upon them. So I just don't understand why we feel like it's necessary to appropriate other people's cultures that they can't even get right.
What I love is the the gatekeeping of language. Like you know how when you're on the internet they don't like you using emojis because in their mind there's double and triple meanings to the pictures.
Hmm.
But to me it's nothing but modern day hieroglyphics. You will glorify traveling long periods of time to go look at hieroglyphics on stone but emojis are a bad thing on the internet. It doesn't. It's not correlating. It's not making sense. Because I had a job that made me learn all of these different meanings of emojis so that I could moderate the temperament of human beings as they converse with one another via text on the internet. It didn't make sense to me, but it was a job. It paid good too. So I shut up, did what I was told.
You know what I don't get, especially if we're dealing with minorities and specific black people? Why do we take this shit literal, right, and believe it wholeheartedly, but not hieroglyphics? Since you brought that up, why do you believe what these people say versus people you know are Africans, and you know that their literature is older, and you know that they copied this shit from? Why?
So that they can convince you that uh, south is north, and north is south, and east is west, and west is east.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. You'll jump right over the people right next door and slide right to Ethiopia with the quickness. Why? And you know that their shit is older. And there's proof that shit that some of the stuff that they're saying actually, well, not the superhuman parts of it didn't happen, but the people that are mentioned in these hieroglyphics, most of them existed, and you can prove it. And the ones that you can't is because a motherfucker they ate them. So I just don't get people's logic on that shit. I don't. I don't. Why did you believe somebody that don't look like you versus somebody from your continent? It's ass backwards. But we're getting way off top. I see you got something that you want to pull up. You want to show it?
Oh, this is more for like honing it all in and bringing it all together. Because remember, I was talking about uh, I want to be a pastor so freaking bad.
Mm-hmm.
This is how they try to use the Dead Sea Scrolls to become pastors, and it also helps you correlate a lot of the discontent with it's not real. And it was done by the gentleman in this video, so nobody can say we are bashing on their intelligence or their culture. They
Okay.
said this. Okay. And here we go. We're going to play. Oh, by the way, it's on ×2. If it's too fast, no, it's on 1.5. So if it's too fast, let me know. But I'm going to be quiet now.
I don't hear nothing. You gotta turn the volume on.
I got to turn the volume up.
Mm-hmm. On your YouTube.
All right. On my YouTube. It's up.
All right, try to push play now. Let's see what happens.
Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. I know what it is. Hold on. It's my headphones. I can hear it in my headphones. You can't hear it on there. Hold on a second.
I don't hear it. Let's see. I'm gonna try to pull up that same thing. It says we saw the Dead Sea Scrolls at Reagan Library. Give me a minute. I can pull it up too.
Thank you. I told you I'm terrible with this stuff. I told you. I always be having mic issues. Oh, there it is. Oops. That's what I was doing wrong.
Go ahead. See if you can get it to play. Is it 13 minutes and 52 seconds long?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I got it. Hold on. I'm about to pull it up
Thank you.
now.
This is opening day of the Dead Sea Scrolls exhibit here at the Reagan Presidential Library. And we're bringing it to you here on Scripture of the Day. What a time my friend Edgar and I are having, hanging out with Ronnie and Nancy, going on board Air Force One. And of course, the reason we came here, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Epic scroll of the Psalms, a scroll of the 10 Commandments. And they wanted to interview me because it's opening day and they're making a video. Little did they know they're on the video, because this is Scripture of the Day. And the reason we came here, what did they find at the Dead Sea Scrolls in the caves of Qumran? A complete scroll of the book of Isaiah. And that's what we're reading right now. Today's chapter, Isaiah 25. And Isaiah begins this chapter with some of the most emotion we've heard from him yet. Oh Lord, you are my God. I will exalt you. I will praise your name, for you have done wonderful things. And the word here for wonderful is that Hebrew word pele. And so it's not just like I'm having a wonderful day at the Reagan Library. It's like wondrous, amazing, miraculous. Wonderful as in nothing is too hard for the Lord. Only God could do this kind of a thing. And so Isaiah, he begins this chapter, Isaiah 25, pumped up about these wonderful things, amazing, mind-blowing things that God has done. So what is he referring to at the beginning of today's chapter? Well, you have to take a look back to Isaiah 24. And Isaiah 24 was this chapter describing the judgment that is coming on the whole world. Now, if you've been reading through Isaiah with us, all the way from chapter 13 to 23, where it's judgment on all these different nations, Babylon, Egypt, the city of Tyre. If you've had a hard time following along all the context there, I can totally understand. But now we enter a new section in Isaiah 24, where it's saying judgment's coming on the whole world. In fact, it uses some flood references in this chapter, like the last time judgment came. It talks about how in Isaiah 24, they broke the everlasting covenant. That's a reference to Genesis 9:16. What was the everlasting covenant? When God put his rainbow in the clouds, that he would not flood the earth again. But the people, they've broken God's covenant. And so it says the window of heaven is going to be opened at this time of.
I ain't gonna lie, this motherfucker is irritating to me. Because he's
Right,
just jumping around.
Right. And I just wanted to get to the part where it talks about what he finds in the museum and how the museum, I'm sorry, not the museum, the library has done all this testing on the scrolls, and exactly when it is they got the scrolls from, it's not real. But of course,
Did
he
you
wants to be a pastor, so he had to do all this part first. You can feel free to skip ahead. I would not be upset.
did you watch this already?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, not all of it. I skipped his annoying part. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I was only asking so you'll know, like, when I be skipping it, well, at what point I should stop.
Yeah, I think it's only like the last 5 minutes. Does he tell you anything about the scrolls themselves and the testing?
Let's see.
That the wicked city has been destroyed, and now there's a strong city that God has set up. And in this strong city, there's no death. You're at a feast with the Lord Jesus. And that's why you're going to find perfect shalom. That's how there's going to end up being peace. Peace when there has been no peace in the Middle East. I mean, here, President Reagan, he was trying to bring peace, but we're always trying to bring peace and never finding it. Jesus is going to bring a time of perfect peace. What is the thing that no president can offer us? I'm waiting for Jesus to come. I'm waiting for this kingdom. I'm waiting for death and all my teeth, and death will be no more. And Jesus will reign. Those are some things I'm giving thanks for. What are you giving thanks for? Let's let people know how good Jesus is in the comments down below.
I'm trying to figure out, like, what
Oh
point.
man. You know what? Wait a minute.
I
I
may
know
have got the
why.
wrong video.
That's my fault. Wait a minute. Right. Try this one instead. I'm sorry. This is my fault. This is completely my fault. Um, I'm sorry. I'm trying again. I'm trying again. I'm trying again. I'm trying again. I'm trying again.
Okay,
This
so
is my fault. That's my fault.
that's the right one right there?
Yeah, this is the right one right here.
Okay.
Can you hear it this time?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I did it right.
It sounds weird. Yeah, you really can't hear it. It's very, very low.
Western civilization. A world we've been a little about were it not for artifacts like this. This simple jar holds secrets. Notice the tiny impression belonging to the king.
You can hear it,
In
NJ, but
ancient
it's
Egypt,
very, very, very low,
the
and it sounds like theater
This
from
object
far away.
transports
Because it's a recording of a recording. It's the way it was filmed, but it's the only one you're going to find inside the Reagan Library.
All right, is you on YouTube?
Yes.
All right, what's the name of that video?
Dead Sea Scrolls, Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, Black Friday exhibit premiering now by Eric Baumgardner. Baumgardner.
How long is it, the video?
26 minutes and 54 seconds.
Okay, I got you.
Thank you. I told you I'm going to get better at this someday, but it ain't today.
Turn your pastime into your full time, your personal style.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Use my downtime.
Sorry, there's a lady walking back there. Sorry. Okay, so there's a little bit of the line. This is Thanksgiving weekend, opening weekend of the Dead Sea Scrolls. 11 in the morning. So there's a few other people here. Looks like they're gonna have a party.
Yes, the Reagans. Yes. Thank the nation for the Reagan. Oh, glorious. The crucible of fate and history.
ancient land of Israel, the biblical land of Mopani, at the crossroads of Africa, Asia, and Europe, an archaeologist's paradise. Thousands of years ago, this land was the cradle for religious traditions that helped shape Western civilization, a world we've been a little about were it not for artifacts like this. This simple jar holds secrets. Notice the tiny impression belonging to the king in ancient Hebrew with a royal seal. This object transports us back nearly 3,000 years to the time of a legendary first temple built by King Solomon. This was ancient Israel's golden age. Within centuries, Babylonians had overrun the land, burying jars like this under layers of destruction. But remarkably, the people, their history, and biblical Israel would persist and even thrive. Now, we stand beneath Jerusalem's famous Western Wall, built by King Herod and his successors when Jerusalem and the Temple became a focal point for pilgrimage.
That is how they proved to you that Herod was
A
real.
single chunk of stone may have held water used by worship.
Say that again.
The Christians, when you're having conversations with them and they try to use factual history to try to prove to you that the Jesus Christ Chronicles are correct, they use that wall in the story of Herod's grounds, whatever they just said in there. But I was just relating it to one another.
Okay.
Worshippers at the Temple Mount 2,000 years ago. A jar from the very place the New Testament tells us Jesus walked to reach the temple. Today, the Western Wall is nearly all that remains of this once proud shrine, destroyed by Romans in 70 CE. Behold the Dead Sea in the Judean desert, nearly 1,400 feet below sea level, the lowest point on Earth. It's here that one of the greatest archaeological discoveries occurred. The year was 1947. A young Bedouin goat herder, chasing a stray, threw a rock into a cave near the Dead Sea. The sound of shattering pottery echoed back. Inside, he found parchment scrolls with ancient Hebrew.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that somebody took a rock and threw it in the sea, and then the sound of breaking pottery came back. Because if you throw something in the ocean, the sea, whatever you want to call it, it's not going to be the same as it would be if it's real air. It's not going to go straight like that to the point where it's going to break some
And why
pottery.
is
No,
the Dead Sea called the Dead Sea? Why is it called the Dead Sea? What is the chemical compounds of that particular sea that makes it called the Dead Sea? You mean to
salt.
tell me You mean to tell me at the bottom of that, this parchment and pottery is going to survive the salt?
Right. Like if you throw a rock in some water, it's going to go all different kinds of directions. Yes, it's going to go down. We get that. But I highly doubt that you can hear the sound of pottery coming through water, especially if it's a ocean or you're at the shore and it's splashing. You would have to have supersonic fucking hearing to even possibly be able to do that. Come on now, this is crazy.
Now, this goat herder had to go get somebody else to come back with them and take pictures as they picked it up and retrieved it. Does that make sense?
hmm But I will give the goat herder some credit. He didn't go out like John Smith and just act like he's somebody special, or that he found some golden tablets and made his own religion, or at least I'm not aware of it if he did. So I will give him that. But to say you threw a rock out in the ocean and you heard the sound of pottery breaking, it's just not true. I know that didn't happen.
But this is a dried up section of the Dead Sea. It's not even a wet section anymore. So supposedly this pottery would have went in while it was the wet Dead Sea. But this goat herder found it while it had been dried out for centuries.
Right. I think the chemicals of the ocean, like you're saying, or whatever the sea, would have broke that pottery all the way down. All the way down. For sure, for sure. So I don't see how that could happen. This shit is a lot. Let me finish playing this.
Writing, more valuable than any treasure he could have imagined. Finding ancient writing is truly miraculous. Most parchment and paper disintegrate over time. But here, in the dry caves at Earth's lowest point, these scrolls survived for 2 millennia. This discovery led to finding over 900 scrolls in nearby caves.
I also missed the point that it got from the rock being thrown into the sea to the cave. I don't know what happened to get to that point. I missed it.
Oh, he was looking for a stray goat. So if you see a cave, you don't want to just wander into the cave because you don't know what's in the cave. It could be a bear, a lion, a tiger, oh me, oh my. Anyway, so you would throw a rock in, but you would expect there to be either something charging out at you, making a noise, but pottery. And if you do hear pottery, it's not a goat. So why are you gonna go looking for it? I don't know. I'm just that's just my speculation.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
All hidden as Romans destroyed Jerusalem. We call this vast library the Dead Sea Scrolls. Among these was the oldest known copy of the Ten Commandments, predating existing versions by over 1,000 years. This find offers unprecedented insight into the foundational texts of Judaism and Christianity, while also shedding light on the shared scriptural heritage that extends to Islam. Today, we use cutting-edge technology to unlock these ancient text secrets. Multispectral imaging reveals previously invisible text, while DNA analysis of the parchment provides clues about the scroll's origins.
Previously
It all
invisible
began here,
text?
inside Cave 1, along the Dead Sea shores, where the oldest surviving Hebrew Bible texts emerged from centuries in hiding, with the simple shattering of a clay jar, like this one. Welcome to Dead Sea Scrolls, the exhibition.
Sorry, y'all. They advertising.
What's that supposed to be?
I'm not sure. That's what I'm wondering. I think they're gonna provide some insight here shortly, and I hope I can understand what it's saying. So what I can see is there's a scripture from Luke. It looks like, hold on, 548 through 54. It looks like. My personal opinion about Luke is that well, it's not an opinion. This is the truth. He never met Jesus a day in his life. Luke even admits it, that he never met Jesus. So I really don't see how a person can take anything from Luke, written by Luke, told by Luke, or spoken by Luke as factual. Um, he does make the claim to be a historian, but you still never met Jesus a day in your life, and you're giving firsthand accounts like he said these things, like you heard him say these things. Um, you can say that you got them from Paul, but Paul never met Jesus either, not a day in his life. So I really don't see why they're showing this. That part is my opinion, but what I said is factual.
You know, in my mind, I would have great conversations being Whoopi Goldberg's best friend. But I know in reality, the two shall never meet.
Exactly. These are third and fourth hands accounts. You never met this person, so I don't see how you can tell me something that they said when you never fucking met them. That shit is stupid. I'm just pausing this one good time right here because let me go back. Because I like to tell people all the time about the Mark and Matthew contradictions when I say that one, when we talk about the story about the granting the Canaanite woman of faith, whatever, and when we say that Jesus referred to her as a dog, I always tell people that both stories contradict each other because one defines her as a person from Canaan, and the other one describes her as a Syrophoenician. right? And as you can see clearly at the top of the screen, it says Syrophoenicia up top. And then as you can see down towards the middle in Galilee, you could see Canaan. So I don't ever want to hear that argument again, because it clearly shows that this would be two different ethnic groups of people, and it couldn't have been the same story. So it definitely contradicts itself.
Sorry.
You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol, any likeness resembling everybody or on earth forever. Observe the Sabbath day and keep it holy as the Lord your God has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but on the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. You shall not do any work on it. You, your son, your daughter, your male or female slave, your ox or your ass, or your camel.
Sorry.
We found love in a hopeless place. We found love in an open space.
This feels totally different to anything we've tried before. This AI is so easy. It doesn't even need a prompt.
So far, my take on what I've been seeing at this museum, it looks pretty cool. It has some nice artifacts and things like that in it, but it doesn't prove anything to me so far. Maybe because I'm a heathen, I don't know. But it's kind of like the Spider-Man New York City argument, right? Great, these cities existed. I'm not disputing any of it. I'm not here to debate, obviously, today, but I don't see what it proves except that these cities existed.
Right. Etymology of crucible. Basically, it comes from medieval times, and it refers to a melting pot used for refining metals. Now, what nobody can get me to understand by looking at all of this stoneware and clayware that they are saying is related to this time period is, how do you carbon date things that do not contain carbon?
That's true. That's true. That's true. You guessing like a motherfucker. You got to be guessing about when you think these artifacts were there. If you dig up any place, like, okay, so we live in the United States. I'm in Ohio right now. I could promise you, if I digged in the right spots here, I could find all kinds of old tribal places. And if you want to be real, where I live at is technically the Connecticut Western Reserve. So that means that there was other civilizations here. This was a native tribe. This was a reservation area where I live at that they reneged on. So I'm sure that there's all kinds of Indian burial grounds around here. Okay. What does that prove? We know that. So I don't see the point of you showing this and how this correlates that Jesus is real. Just because there's a city that he allegedly scrolled through and you found an old ass clay pot made out of bullshit, that doesn't prove any fucking thing.
Woo! They're not supposed to be able to take land that you buried your family on. And as we found out in the inner cities, that was bullshit also.
I just told somebody that too. I said the best way to keep your property in the family is to bury somebody on it. But, you know, if they want to build a highway or something like that, they still gonna take it.
Yep. They will ask you, do you want us to move, Granny, or you want us to just pave over, Granny? But either way, we coming through.
We got a check for you. You can have it. If you don't want it, we still gonna give you this check. The check is still there, and we still gonna take it. We just had that situation happen in my city. They took all these people's houses and built this this factory that ended up never opening. Shame.
Woo-wee. And everybody who took the first check and got out early is sitting back pretty going, we on our way to Jamaica again and again.
Right. I wish I was there. And the thing that people need to realize is you can't outlive the bank. You can't outlive the companies. You can't outlive the school. You can't. Eventually, you're going to die. So if they want your shit, eventually they're going to get it. So you might as well take what you can get and go about your business because you really don't own it anyway because you still got to pay taxes. So it doesn't make a fucking difference.
You can't own dirt, but yet we trade in dirt. Trade well. That's all I can tell you. Trade well.
Exactly. Let me play the rest of this Dead Sea Scroll stuff. Okay, I'm gonna put this down for a little bit. I'll bring it back. I'm gonna do a little bit of reading because you're just again looking at a museum, some of which I can't really see, and I actually want to learn more about what is on these Dead Sea Scrolls. So give me 1 minute. Do a little bit of reading here. We'll definitely come back to that. Okay. The Dead Sea Scrolls contain a wealth of religious information that sheds light on the diversity of Jewish thought and practice during the Second Temple period, roughly 516 BCE to 70 CE. Here are some of the key religious aspects found on the scrolls. Number one, biblical texts. The scrolls include many fragments of books from the Hebrew Bible, including Genesis, Psalms, Isaiah, Exodus, and others. Some of these texts are nearly identical to what we have in the modern Bible, while others show slight variations, offering insight into how the Bible may have been transmitted and copied over time. Apocryphal and Deuteronomical books. These are books that were not included in the Jewish Bible, but are found in other Christian and Jewish traditions. Examples include the Book of Enoch, Jubilees, and Sirach, Ecclesiastics. These writings often contain religious teachings, wisdom, literature, and prophecies that were influential in certain Jewish communities, but later excluded from the canon of the Hebrew Bible. Sectarian writings. Many of the scrolls reflect the beliefs, practices, and laws of Jewish sects believed to be the Essenes, a group that lived in Qumran. These writings include the Community Rule, a foundational document that outlines the rules, structure, and religious practices of the sect. It emphasizes purity, communal living, and strict adherence to Torah law. War Scroll, a document describing a apocalyptical battle between the sons of light, the Essenes, and the sons of darkness, their enemies, including the Romans and other Jewish groups. These texts reflect the community's beliefs in an impending final confrontation between good and evil. Thanksgiving hymns, a series of hymns reflecting the religious devotion and thanksgiving of the community. These focus on God's righteousness, the struggle against sin, and the importance of purity. Halachic texts. These are legal writings that discuss Jewish law in great detail. They cover topics like ritual purity, dietary laws, Sabbath observance, and temple practices. For example, the Damascus document discusses the history of the Jewish people, their covenant with God, and provides specific rules for communal life. Messianic expectations. Several texts in the Dead Sea Scrolls contain references to a coming Messiah or multiple messianic figures. These texts show that there was a variety of messianic expectations in Jewish thought at the time. The community of Qumran, for existence, may have believed in both a priestly and kingly Messiah who would restore Israel and bring about divine justice. Eschatological views. Many of the scrolls contain writings about the end times and God's ultimate plan for salvation and judgment. These texts emphasize themes of divine intervention, the defeat of evil, and the establishment of God's kingdom on earth. In short, the Dead Sea Scrolls offer a rich picture of religious diversity, revealing that Jewish thought during this time period was not monotheistic. There were varying views on law, purity, messianism, and the interpretation of scriptures. The scrolls provide crucial context for understanding the religious environment that gave rise to early Christianity and the development of different Jewish sects. Whew, that was a lot.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And you sped through it beautifully. Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. 'Cause I've already been down this rabbit hole. So I get a little, I jump ahead. You see how I started with the ending? But everything you just said, the Masonics and all of that, and the boogeyman of somebody coming along one day and seeing through their bullshit, and the prophecies that somehow, some way we gotta make come true, and when we make this come true, we have to be able to point at a human being on the planet and say that they are this Jesus person and attribute all of that to them. And
Yeah.
basically, what these scrolls is saying is, okay, to achieve these things, these are the days that you can do nothing. These are the days you must work for massa. These are the lies we would like you to believe so that you will work the way we are telling you, because massa likes us and we live good. And we need you to make sure that we live good by doing what Master told us to tell you to do.
Exactly. Exactly. Honestly, like I said, from the beginning, I really don't see the point. When people bring up that argument, oh well, the Dead Sea Scrolls, so fucking wet, so fucking wet, so fucking wet. It just adds confusion to the story to me.
And don't let them not finish their story, because you don't know what they be knowing about this stuff. And how dare you cut them off? Not let them finish.
All you saying, listen, when a person says the Dead Sea Scrolls, from what I'm gathering so far, and to be honest with you, it seems like I could probably have about 2 or 3 more episodes on this topic. But so far, all I am gathering is it's just a writing that they found in a fucking clay pot somewhere of the fucking the Old Testament.
It was a homework assignment somebody got tired of carrying. Clay pots are not light. If your donkey dies and can't carry your clay pots, you be like, fuck these pots. Maybe I'll come back and get them later.
Right.
You gotta carry. You gotta choice between carrying the kid or your homework assignment. I'm gonna leave the homework assignment and carry the kid. I would hope.
It's just like an old piece of mail that somebody just left and they just died, and then somebody just found it later. Like, won't he do it?
Go on YouTube. Go on YouTube. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of empty homes with people's crap still in it. Down to the cars. The cars still got gas in them. And they just sitting there, getting overgrown and dusty.
This is starting to sound like The Walking Dead. You just pull up to a car, gas in that motherfucker, and you just found out a person's whole life story. Like, oh, okay, well, damn, these motherfuckers, good thing they died. They was behind on their rent, ain't paid their cell phone bill when they died.
You ever bought a used car that the car lot didn't clean up? They just got it straight from the trader and just sold it, and you go through the glove box and under the seats and everything to clean it up, and you be like, this person's whole life story. You done found they lost love letters. You done found their favorite cassette tape. You popping it in that bad boy like, yeah, that song do go with this car. You know what? I'm gonna use it too. We're gonna keep that in the car. You know what I mean?
Listen, I had this one car, right? And you can't tell me that somebody wasn't murdered in it. You know why?
Why?
Right up here on like the ceiling and shit. All right here. Blood was splattered on it.
Ooh-wee. Right through the window, probably. They just replaced the window and was like, we good. Looks perfect.
They did one hell of a fucking job. Because I couldn't tell. But the damn car smelled like dog for years. I cleaned that car out so many times. And then I used a lid brush probably 7, 8 times to get all the hair out, and I never could get all that shit out. Never. I don't know if it was a dog or if somebody went to the vet to pick up their dog and got murdered. I don't fucking know. But yeah.
Sound like a cop car to me.
Nah, it was a stick shift. It was a stick shift.
I'm just glad you can drive a stick. You know how many people can't? And now I can't buy one. I got a new one anyway. Unless it's rear wheel drive.
I was about 35 before I learned. I learned on that car.
Oh yeah, there is nothing like having a student. Oh my goodness. That first trip out, you'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna need a new transmission after this. I hope somebody can afford it.
So I learned how to drive it. One night I had to go to work about an hour away. And so I had to drive on the fucking freeway with it, and I had no choice but learn. Like what happened was, I just when I would pull off, it just keep going like that. But I was driving it, and honestly, I was driving it around about 3 or 4 months before I knew or learned how to roll it before I took off in order to do that. So every time I would take
Wow.
off, I realized like, but yeah, it's easy now. I feel stupid for not knowing how to drive it from the beginning. It's easy as fuck.
I learned watching the driver because I don't know why they all love stick shifts. Everybody had a stick shift, and then and like you said, the first time each kid got in the car, it was the same thing. Take them straight to the highway. You gonna get through all 6 or 5 years today.
Listen, I missed that damn car. I don't burn no gas. But let me get back to the fucking subject with this damn Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm gonna read a little bit. Well, let's play the rest of the video.
This is crazy. Yeah, this is the crazy Black Friday crowd. Trust me, I thought I'd get here early.
Black Friday.
I guess it's better that they spent money to go into the library than spending money at the store.
That's why I had mentioned Black Friday, because that just alluded to it costs money to get in there. No different than the damn tomb site they got in fucking Jerusalem or Nazareth or wherever the fuck is at, when the people who are running that, who own that shit, don't even believe in theirself, but people will be foolish enough to pay their money, fly all the way over there to see the shit.
Right, and I was thinking earlier, if you can't get people to make enough money to go over there, what do? You have the Reagan exhibit, bring it over here. Come believe the bullshit. Come see what we are lying about.
Ah, man, it's just crazy because that's the second time I've heard a mention of Ronald Reagan today, but this is just interesting that I'm hearing about him, and this man's been gone for however long. But let me play the rest of this real quick.
Especially for self-guided, appreciate all of your patience. Start in the second row here at the end of the line.
Stop researching with ChatGPT. Its information is not.
Nope.
Amazing how those Dead Sea Scrolls almost look the same as Master's Lost records up in the attic, where everybody's combing through right now trying to figure out their family's genealogy. It's amazing how they look the same. One survived centuries in a cave, and the other one just a couple hundred years in the attic. It's amazing.
What I'm noticing is that what they're showing is just a whole bunch of fucking fragments of ripped up fucking paper that people then wrote on and shit. And, they're just copies of the Old Testament. I mean, again, it's like maybe somebody was writing those down to share with someone else. Maybe they were trying to take the message somewhere else, or I don't know.
Homework
But
assignment. It's like when you go to college and you got to come
Mhm.
home and prove that you learned something while you was there. Look, I have this degree. It says I completed courses away at college. Well, back then you have to, as a scribe, go learn this stuff, and they were bringing their homework back with them, I guess, to say, hey, I graduated. This is what I learned while I was there. Like I said, they just didn't feel like carrying it no more, so they put it in a cave, I guess.
you know what I'm surprised about more than anything with today? The non-existence of Latin. Like, okay, if these Dead Sea Scrolls would have came up and it just would have been Hebrew and Aramaic, okay, cool, right? Typical shit, right? But why is that shit in Greek, right? And why is there never a person speaking or saying anything in fucking Latin when the Romans were clearly there? Clearly they were fucking there. And I know a lot of them spoke Greek. I get it. But I don't believe that every single last one of them spoke Greek. I don't believe that. And I'm still wondering, like, where the fuck is the Latin at?
Aha, the $1 million question. Aha, the $1 million question. All I'm gonna say is the word crucible is a Latin word. That's all. I'm gonna just leave that there. Let all of our imaginations marinate until you come up with the next subject matter.
Right. I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's still just strange as fuck to me. Super duper strange.
You can actually see them in the front. I like it so you can see it here.
I'm gonna pause it again and read something else I just found. In a second. There's about 6 minutes left on that video as well. Give me a second. Okay, so Christian origin theory, Spanish Jesuit Jose O. Callahan Martinez, which is a strange name, argued in the 60s that one fragment preserves a portion of a text from the New Testament, the Gospel of Mark 6:52 through 53. This theory was scrutinized in the year 2000 by paleographic analysis of the particular fragment. However, this faced some contention, and O'Callaghan's theory remains an area of great dispute. Later analysis in 2004 and 2018 lent credence to Callahan's original assertion. Robert Eisman has advanced the theory that some scrolls describe the early Christian community. Eisman also argues that the careers of James the Just and Paul the Apostle correspond to events recorded in some of these documents, which makes it bullshit automatically to me, but that's a different story. Jerusalem origin theory. Some scholars have argued that the scrolls were the product of Jews living in Jerusalem who hid the scrolls in the caves near the Qumran while fleeing from the Romans during the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 CE. Karl Heinrich Regensdorf first proposed in the 1960s that the Dead Sea Scrolls originated at the Library of the Jewish Temple in Jerusalem. Later, Norman Gold suggested that the scrolls were the product of multiple libraries in Jerusalem and not necessarily the Jerusalem Temple Library. Proponents of the Jerusalem origin theory point to the diversity of thought and handwriting among the scrolls as evidence against the Qumran origin of the scrolls. Several archaeologists have also accepted an origin of the scrolls other than the Qumran, including Yetzhar Hirschfeld and most recently Yitzhak Magen and Yuval Pegleg, who all understand the remains of Qumran to be those of Hasmonean fort that was refused during later periods. Strange.
So if you're trying to prove that a region existed, and then you're trying to prove that the history of this region existed, you have to prove that the people associated with this region existed. So you just stick a bunch of stuff in a cave one day and say, oh, look, we found proof that everything we're saying is true. Does that make more sense to me? Probably.
I don't get it. Because it's like I kind of wish that whenever we're reading things about religious scholars and things like that, I wish they all could just be on one accord. They all have different points of views and things like that, and it just invalidates the shit even more to me because one person thinks one thing. Go ahead.
Which is why I appreciate King James giving everybody a copy that they could read for themselves and ascertain that we will constantly be going in circles if we keep trying to prove that the lie is true.
Exactly. I never thought about that until I heard you say it earlier. That's one thing that we can definitely give King James credit for. Another thing that people, especially if we're talking about English speaking people, primarily, you can give him credit for your whole religion, truthfully, because one way or the other, if you trace your Bible, it's going to go back to the King James Version. All this Ethiopian shit is all new shit. They just made that up probably in the past. Well, I ain't gonna say the religion because that's not true. I'm not trying to insinuate that they just made up the story Ethiopian Christianity in the past 20 years. But that thought, as far as American people, that argument just came about in the past 10 to 15 years because I've never even met a person from Ethiopia. Never in my life. What
Well,
about you?
if they can assess that everything and anything comes out of Ethiopia, isn't that how you steal the dirt?
I mean, yeah, that's true, but the Ethiopian Christianity debate and argument, I've never even heard that until as of recently.
Right. Because they're in the process of stealing the dirt. They came up with this bright idea one day and was like, if we can convince everyone of a brown complexion over here that you came from over there, especially if you believe in this Bible that the slave masters gave you, so that you wouldn't focus on the fact that you are of the land. If you can convince them that they really belong over there, they will freely get on the planes, trains, and automobiles to go back. And then we end up with the dirt. And they end up with the written word. See how that works?
Absolutely. I tell people this all the time. The idea of real estate is colonial, period. Because what you're doing is you're taking the people away from the land and trying to tell them that they owe you for staying there. It doesn't make sense. I was here minding my business, chilling, had me a house or hut or whatever the fuck it was, living rent free. Now all of a sudden you come over here and you teach me a religion. Now I gotta pay rent and bills and shit. That's fucked up. Go
Right?
home.
Right? I'm looking at the squirrels and the birds and everything else that's called a critter outside my doors, going, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Is this just so I can call myself civilized? Because I would rather go back to being heathenistic at this point.
Exactly. Because listen, we know for a fact that there's way more than enough space in this country for everybody to have their own space. We know that way more than enough. There's more than
Do you
enough.
want your space to travel or do you want your space stationary? But there's more than enough.
Exactly. There's actually enough in this country for probably for everybody in the whole wide world. But that's a different story because I heard recently that if you took, and this is just Texas, if you took everybody in the whole world and put them in Texas, just in Texas, that if they stuck their arms out like this, that their hands wouldn't even touch. They can still see each other. You probably can see people, right? But your hands wouldn't even fucking touch. And that's everybody in the whole world. So
Whole world. And guess what? I bet you the animals on the planet would appreciate that because they'd be like, finally, we can move freely about.
exactly. Let me finish reading this a little bit.
Actually, that was the best part of the whole pandemic, watching the animals just wandering right back into the suburbs.
Right. Radiocarbon dating. This spoke on something that you were talking about earlier. Parchment from a number of the Dead Sea Scrolls has been carbon dated. The initial test performed in 1950 was on a piece of linen from one of the caves. This test gave an indicative dating of 33 CE plus or minus 200 years, which is that don't make sense. Eliminating early hypothesis relating to the scrolls to the medieval period. Since then, two large series of tests have been performed on the scrolls. The results were summarized by Vanderenkamp and Flint, who said the test gives strong reason for thinking that most of the Qumran manuscripts belong to the last 2 centuries BCE and the 1st century CE. Paleographic dating analysis of letter forms or paleography was applied to the text of the Dead Sea Scrolls by a variety of scholars in the field. Major linguistic analysis by Cross and Avogadro dates fragments from 225 BCE to 50 CE. These dates were determined by examining the size, variability, and style of the text. The same fragments were later analyzed, used radiocarbon dating, and were dated to an estimated range from 385 BCE to 82 CE with 68% accuracy rate. Ink and parchment. The scrolls were analyzed using a cyclotron at the University of California, Davis, where it was found that all black ink was carbon black. The red ink on the scrolls was found to be made by Cinnabar. There are only 4 uses of this red ink in the entire collection of the Dead Sea Scroll fragments. The black inks found on the scrolls are mostly made by carbon soot from olive oil lamps. Honey, oil, vinegar, and water were often added to the mixture to thin the ink to a proper consistency for writing. Gauze were sometimes added to the ink to make it more resilient. In order to apply the ink to the scrolls, its writers used reed pens. The Dead Sea Scrolls were written on parchment made of processed animal hide, known as vellum, papyrus, and sheets of bronze composed of about 99% copper and 1% tin. For those scrolls written on animal hide, scholars with the Israeli Antiquities Authority, by use of DNA testing for assembly purposes, believe that their There may be a hierarchy in the religious importance of the text based on which type of animal was used to create the hide. Scrolls written on goat and calf hides are considered by scholars to be more significant in nature, while those written on gazelle or ibex are considered to be less religiously significant in nature. Tests by the National Institute of Nuclear Physics in Sicily have suggested that the origin of parchment of select Dead Sea Scroll fragments is from Qumran area by using X-ray and particular induced X-ray emissions testings of the water used to make the parchment that were compared with the water from the area around Qumran. I don't really get that part.
That
About
was a lot of mumbo jumbo. Oh my goodness.
it was. I really don't get the part about how they were talking about what's written on one hide is more significant than the other, like
Right,
religiously. That's stupid as fuck.
right. You mean to tell me that hide that came from meats eaten, which means you would have a lot of this particular hide, because everybody was eating this particular meat. So the hides would be freely available. It would be considered a waste product. You would consider them more valuable than the hide of, let's say, something that had to be trapped and hunted, that the hyenas would leave behind, because only the hyenas was eating those particular animals. You know what I mean? Think. Let's think it through.
Right. I mean, I can understand for like a valuable purpose, like why one hide would be more valuable than the next. I get that, but not for writing purposes. It's not like, okay, well, he wrote on a cow's ass today, so this is the real truth, right? The part he wrote on a goat's ass, don't believe that part. That part's a metaphor. Like, don't you know that he
Now, if you write on an animal's ass, it's animal abuse, and you might go to jail.
right? But don't you think logically that maybe one day this may have been available versus that? You think he gave a fuck when he was writing that shit? Like, oh, make sure we write it on this one so they know that this is the part I really want you to take literal, right? Put the 10 Commandments on the best Kobe beef. No, it's out of availability. Don't nobody give a fuck. Like, I got a piece of paper, right? Whichever one is most available at that time is what I'm going to write it on.
Right. Got Got whiteboards, chalkboards, computer screen, tablets, cell phones, all for jotting down notes. Do I remember what any of those notes mean when I go back to them? If I go back to them, most of the time, no. Most of the time, no.
Especially when we're talking about something that you found roughly 70 years ago that you're claiming been there for thousands of years, which I'm not going to debate that about. There's no it could have been, right? But that makes no difference. And then if you just look at the backdrop picture, not the born again atheist, right? Just look how that shit is formed. It's just ripped up pieces of paper. That's all it is. So
That's all it is.
So what fucking difference does it make what piece of paper they wrote it on? Don't matter. I don't get it.
It's like a lot of books. Well, this book was written from this perspective, so we should never ever believe any books written from this perspective. Well, why not? Well, because from this person's perspective, we know it to be a lie. But what makes this person's perspective more true than this person's perspective? You can go in circles all day long doing that. You really can.
You definitely can, especially when the Bible's already been canonized, or however you pronounce that word, hundreds of years ago before finding any of this. I mean, what are you going to do? Backtrack it and change up? It's already done. I don't get it. I'm going to play the last little bit of the video.
At Harbor Freight, we do business differently from
This is the Discovery, I guess.
Interesante que lo hallaron enrollado y tenían que desrollarlo.
Which yielded over half of all Dead Sea Scrolls found. Thousands of fragments from hundreds of ancient manuscripts. These fragments presented scholars with an enormous puzzle, one that would take decades to piece together. Although the scholars did tremendous work in their decipherment, the fragments underwent significant further damage due to a lack of proper knowledge and conservation.
Ooh, those are cool. I like those lights.
Wait a minute, you lost me somewhere.
Yes. Or did I ask for rather?
Your first and last name.
Cindy Vinesky. Sorry, Cindy Vinesky.
I just wanted to mention briefly that I actually want to go to that museum. I want to see that for myself. I don't know if I would really pay, depending on
That
how much
part.
it
Do
is.
they have a free day? Do they have a free day? Like a day for, I don't know, you grab a little kid, you can get in for free.
I'm gonna look it up to see exactly how much it is. Because if it's just like, like a general fee of like, under $20 or something like that, yeah, I can see myself doing that. But um, to the point where we're talking about Black Friday, like when we're talking about something Black Friday, that's like kind of something that I probably wouldn't be able to afford on a daily day basis, or something that I could afford, but I just don't want to pay for it at that time. So I'm wondering. I want to look into that.
You better than me, because I saw them years up on the wall. 2020 being the last one.
2020, as far as what, when that the video was taped, this video was made, or what? I'm just asking.
Yeah, when they were showing the plaques on the video of the timeline of the Dead Sea Scroll investigation, the last plaque had 2020 on it. So they were still researching these scrolls in 2020 from 1947 to 2020. They are still trying to prove these scrolls through some kind of dating. Now, what I found interesting was where they said, damn it, I forgot just that fast. And I was sitting here dinging my side of my head going, don't forget, don't forget. I knew I should have wrote it in the comments. It'll come back to me in a minute.
You know what just came to my mind? I just been hoodwinked. I just been fucking hoodwinked so hard. They found these Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947, right? Isn't that the same fucking year that Israel was founded?
Oh my goodness! I was wondering when you was going to figure that out.
I never thought of that. I feel so.
Oh my goodness!
I feel dumb as fuck.
It's why it's not real must remain real.
Oh man, damn! I just been took for a nice little ride. But you know what? I'm glad I did this topic today, because that's an easy argument right there. An easy fucking argument. Let me play the rest of this. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm tripping. I'm tripping now, right? Why the fuck am I looking at the Constitution right now?
Right. Now, one thing we are never going to, that's what it was. That's what I was trying to remember. Thank you for reminding me. One thing we are never going to have to do is prove that the Constitution is real because we know exactly the day it was signed. We have paintings depicting the day of the signature. We have the document itself, which has been perfectly preserved. But somehow, listen to what I'm getting ready to relate. When the Dead Sea Scrolls were found in 1947, they had somehow survived all of this time in the caves. But due to poor preservation techniques, some of the testing is being found fallible up until the period of 2020. Are you seeing where I'm going with
The
this?
fucking thing is fallible. You don't know who touched that shit all them damn hundreds and damn near thousands of years? Well, thousands of years.
But they'll
2,000
never
years.
have that problem with the Constitution because it has been perfectly preserved since the day it was signed.
That don't make sense. In a mildewy, musty cave with dead sea. I mean, with dead salt in it. I mean, with salt in this
Right.
cave.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't see how that makes any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Only time I've ever seen salt preserve anything is with meat.
That's true. I don't know if salt is considered acidic, but I know that it will change the structure of something, especially over time. I know that.
Right, which is why we are very, very concerned at this time about the salt water going up the Mississippi River. Just thought I'd mention that because it is a common concern right now. Even if we do forget about it, so that we can go down the rabbit hole of the Dead Sea Scrolls and correlate it to our perfectly preserved Constitution.
Have you ever been in the presence of salt water and fresh water connecting? Have you ever seen it?
No, I have not.
I have. They say that it's only 6 places in the world. I've been to one of them, the Blue Lagoon in Jamaica. Listen, this shit is sweet. Look, so at night, right? If you irritate the water in any way, like if you just go like this in water, it lets off like a blue color. Oh man, that shit looks so fucking sweet. And then allegedly I was supposed to be in like a depth of water where my feet could touch the ground. Like, but I couldn't. I was scared as fuck, right? And they had this damn life jacket around me. I'll never show people the pictures because they're so embarrassing. I thought I could swim, right? They was making fun of me this and they were clowning on me so bad. They're like, "No, man, you can't fucking swim." It was, oh man, it was bad. But
Oh my goodness. I
definitely
know
was
how
good.
you felt. I know how you felt. I had a family member that happened to, and they got real resolute about learning how to swim after that vacation where they were told by the islanders that they shouldn't be in the water. Stay in the boat.
Yeah, but the point of me telling you this is that salt water and fresh water they don't mix at all, at all.
But I really didn't know that there was a point on the island where that happened. Thank you for the information. I will have to add that to my list.
Well, it's out in the water, like clearly, because they got rivers and shit there, right? So the rivers
Yes.
are gonna be fresh water. So where the water of the rivers empties out, there's kind of like a barrier. Like you stay your ass over here, and I'm gonna stay my ass over here, and you can see it clears all day too.
Well, I want to see it clear as all day. I do. I really do. But I probably gonna start with the salt water going up the Mississippi. I'll probably start there. I'm gonna get around to the Jamaican one day. One day.
Yeah,
Maybe
you
I'll
should.
pass it by on my way somewhere else. Who knows?
He should. He definitely should. It was dope. definitely.
Dakota.
Again, I don't know why we're looking at the Constitution here. I don't get it.
Constitution.
Written as a crucible because it's in metal. It said at the beginning of the tour, this is the crucible.
Ronald F. and Reagan.
Did you have a good time, Gavin?
Well, I think that's enough of that video because all it is God Bless America at that point.
Yes, yes,
But
yes, yes. But you know, those kind of videos, for some reason, nobody ever gets mad. I don't know why. They're like, yes, please spread the word of God Bless America, please.
absolutely. My overall take on the Dead Sea Scrolls so far, from what I've learned, is that it's just a handwritten copy of the Bible. I don't know what the purpose. I mean, the Bible as we know it today. I don't know the purpose of it. I don't know why a person sat and wrote it down, decided to put it in a clay pot. I don't really see the big deal.
The big deal was 1947.
I don't see how, like, when again, when I have debates with people, I don't see what the point of them speaking about that is, because it doesn't prove any fucking thing. It doesn't prove anything.
But you can't prove to them that it doesn't mean anything. So it just sidetracks the conversation. Gotta let them finish. We listen, we don't judge.
They just ripped up pieces of paper. It's just like little notes that you putting together, written by different people. You know, it may have actually been a Bible, in a way, because all right, so we know that the New Testament was originally written in Greek. So maybe with these being found in Hebrew and Greek and Aramaic, that it's just a copy of the Bible. Or maybe it's not that. Maybe that some of the Hebrew text as we know it as of today was written in Greek, as somebody told me before. I don't know.
Just like them family Bibles. What was written may not have been. And the only thing guaranteed is what mama said.
Well,
My mama then told me, get something for dinner.
I'm gonna read one last thing before I close this one out. We've been on here for a while. Wait a second. Okay, so the preservation, the Dead Sea Scrolls that were found were originally preserved by the arid conditions present within the Qumran area adjoining the Dead Sea. In addition, the lack of the use of tanning materials on the parchment of the Dead Sea Scrolls and the very low airflow in the caves also contributed significantly to their preservation. Some of the scrolls were found stored in clay jars, further helping to preserve them from deterioration. The original handling of the scrolls by the archaeologists and scholars were done inappropriately, and along with their storage in an uncontrolled environment, they began a process of more rapid deterioration than they had experienced at Qumran. During the last few years of the late 1940s and 50s, adhesive tape used to join fragments in seal cracks caused significant damage to the documents. The government of Jordan had recognized the urgency of protecting the scrolls from deterioration and the presence of deterioration among the scrolls. However, the government did not have adequate funds to purchase all the scrolls for their protection and agreed to have their foreign institutions purchase the scrolls and have them held at their museum in Jerusalem until they could be adequately studied. In early 1953, the scrolls were moved to the Palestine Archaeological Museum, commonly called the Rockefeller Museum in East Jerusalem, and through their transportation suffered more deterioration and damage. The museum was underfunded and had limited resources with which to examine the scrolls, and as a result, conditions of the scholarly and storage area were left relatively uncontrolled by modern standards. The museum had left most of the fragments and scrolls lying between window glass, tapping the moisture, and with them, causing an acceleration in the deterioration process. During the Suez Crisis, the scrolls collection of the Palestine Archaeological Museum was stored in the vault of the Ottoman Bank in Amman, Jordan. Damp conditions from the temporary storage of the scrolls in the Ottoman Bank vault from 1956 to 57 led to a more rapid rate of deterioration of the scrolls. The conditions caused mildew to develop on the scrolls and fragments, and some fragments were partially destroyed or made illegible. Excuse me. Oh, I can't pronounce that real. Illegible by the glue in the paper of the manila envelopes in which they were stored while in the vault. In 1958, it was noted that up to 5% of some of the scrolls had completely deteriorated. Many of the texts had become illegible, and many of the parchments have darkened considerably. Until the 1970s, the scrolls continued to deteriorate because of poor storage arrangements, exposure to different adhesives, and being stored in moist environments. Fragments written on parchment rather than papyrus or bronze in the hands of private collectors and scholars suffered an even worse fate than those in the hands of a museum, with large portions of fragments being reported to have disappeared in 1966. In the late 1960s, the deterioration was becoming a major concern with scholars and museum officials alike. Scholars John Allegro and Sir Francis Frank were among the first to strongly advocate for better preservation techniques. Early attempts made by both the British and Israel museums to remove the adhesive tape ended up exposing the parchment to an array of chemicals, including British leather dressing and darkening some of them significantly. In the 1970s and 80s, other preservation attempts were made that included removing the glass tape and placing them with cardboard and removing pressure against the plates that held the scrolls in storage. However, the fragments and scrolls continued to rapidly deteriorate during this time. In 91, the IAA established a temperature-controlled laboratory for the storage and preservation of the scrolls. The actions and preservation methods of Rockefeller Museum staff were concentrated on the removal of tape, oils, metals, salt, and other contaminants. The fragments and scrolls are preserved using acid-free cardboard and stored in cylinder boxes in the climate-controlled storage area. 9 tiny Teflon stripes were rediscovered by the IAA in 2014 after they had been stored unopened for 6 decades following the excavation in 1952. So that pretty much explains what happened to the scrolls and why they got messed up. But it does touch back on the same exact fucking thing that you said, NJ. How the fuck do we have the Constitution as they just blatantly just showed, right? I don't know if that's the original one that they showed, but how do we have the Constitution in such great fucking shape, right? And that thing is, well, I ain't gonna say it's older, but the discovery of it is significantly older. But all of a sudden, as soon as you touch this in 1947, when you clearly know better, you fuck it up.
Like they said, that region didn't have enough money, so it had to be bought by someone, a region that had enough money to preserve it properly.
That's bullshit. How much money does it cost to preserve something that a nation?
I don't know. Ask whoever is in charge of preserving the Constitution of the Corporation of America. Because I keep seeing amendments and stuff to this Constitution, but the original is still sitting there perfectly preserved. None of this new information has been added to the original. It's been added by law, but it hasn't been, like, they haven't taken the original out of the case, crossed some sections out, and wrote in the new stuff. They haven't done that at all.
I mean, but how fucking stupid can you be? Did you hear all the shit that I was saying that didn't happen to these Dead Sea Scrolls? Like some,
Yes.
like listen, I was damn near fucking up from saying all the different materials that it's been exposed to. How fucking stupid can you be? You
I
didn't put tape on the
I
shit. You didn't put paint on the shit. You didn't put ink on the shit. You did
they
all kind of shit to
one of the terminologies they used is a fancy way of saying they put lemon juice on the documents.
it. I
It
said
was
it.
just
Didn't miss that part. I missed that.
lemon juice. They put lemon juice on it.
For
Lemon
what?
juice is because they're trying to see if there's invisible ink. They swear that everybody was writing invisible stuff that they can't see. So they believe that if they give it a little lemon and just a little heat, not enough to burn the paper, but just enough to activate the lemon, they're going to find hidden text that couldn't be seen in ink.
Why not just take it for face fucking value? Just look at what it says and just take that. That's good enough. You got these old ass scrolls from thousands of years ago. You should be happy. Preserve that. Who gives a fuck what's inside of it?
But like you said, we had photography by the time they were found. So once you spread it out, took a picture of it, what more did you need to do to it? What more did you need to touch it for?
And truthfully, who's to say that it was even lost? All of a sudden, when you just capture this country on some John Smith shit, right?
Yes.
Now all of a sudden you just found something that was just in this cave.
Right, that was lost in
No.
this cave. Nobody knew it was there for all of this time.
Come
No
on now.
other goat herder had ever been on this particular mountain range or wherever the hell it was, valley, whatever it was. Nobody had ever been there before and stumbled across this spot with this important paperwork sitting in it.
In a place where at that point they didn't even that wasn't their religion.
Right.
That don't even make sense. That's
Nope.
stupid. That's
Yep.
not a language that these people even naturally speak. Right? That's a
Yep.
place you just made up one motherfucking day and said boom right here because you was gonna put that shit either in Mongolia or Kenya. I wonder how you was gonna make that story be true.
But now they're all over here in America. All of them are over here where they can be studied and pinpointed to that region. And they can make up whatever story they want now about that region.
Now it makes sense as to why they feel it's necessary to put the Bible and the Ten Commandments in class, right? Because they want you to learn these things and they want you to believe these things and to feel like that you owe for these things happening when in reality this area or these people, whether if it's true or not, have nothing to do with you or nobody else here for that matter.
Just missionaries trying to mission.
Mhm. It has nothing to do with nothing. It doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't make you smarter. It doesn't make you morally correct or anything like that.
If they won't let you come in with guns, you send people in with books.
To soften you up, make you feel bad for just being a normal human being.
We know you like your life right here, right now, but we would like to take over your region. So we have these things called books. We're going to teach you our language so that you can read these things called books. And then you will sit there for years upon years pondering what's in these books while we rape the land that you sit upon for everything and anything we can find.
And make you pay to stay there too.
Oh, yeah. When we're done doing all of that, yes. Now you have to pay to stay where you were when we found you.
Right. Because somebody died for my sins and I still can sin. It makes no sense. What you got going on the rest of the day, NJ?
I have no idea. I am so hyped because I'm having such a glorious day. The coffee kept coming. I went downstairs and there was another pot. So I'm going to have a third cup this morning. Grandson is having fun with his parents, so he is ignoring me and I'm enjoying my day off. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna watch TV, eat, relax, and do absolutely nothing. I'll be back next week. I don't know if I'm gonna finish doing a little bit of study on these Dead Sea Scrolls because to me it doesn't prove anything. I don't really feel like I've learned anything today, except for the fact that they just found this shit, and it's just a copy of the book. That's in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. They got it spread out at the Ronald Reagan Museum, but I don't feel like, again, that I've learned anything new, except a lot. They found it in 1947, which makes the validity of it worse for me. It means nothing.
Well, at least now you won't be going in circles with them anymore. If they just want to talk about the Dead Sea Scrolls, drop, delete, let's move on.
It doesn't prove anything. And like I said,
Not a blessed thing. Unless you're trying to get people to go visit the library, go visit the Ronald Reagan Library. Enjoy yourself. If you can afford the tickets, maybe they have a free day. I am not looking up the information to find out. I don't give a gosh darn.
I will after we get off of here. I'm just wondering where it's at. I'm not gonna make a special trip like, hey, let's take a family vacation and go to. No, I'm not doing that shit. I'm just
Oh, the
curious.
Griswolds. There's nothing like a family vacation across the country to see the sights. And after watching the Griswolds growing up, I came to the conclusion that that is not my forte. It's just
Listen,
not for me.
as a 42-year-old grown man going to Vegas to see the Scrippers sounds much more interesting, if you ask me. But hey,
Ooh, now that would be fun. I love that movie Showgirls. I get it. I understand why the movie was hated upon. I do. But I'm not going to lie. Being a fly on the wall backstage of Showgirls would have been fascinating to me.
I've never seen it, but again, I'm
It's an
definitely
overrated experience, but if you're watching stuff today and you come across it, by all means watch it. It's hilarious.
I'm definitely not gonna be making a trip anytime soon to go see the Ronald Reagan Museum, but it's interesting to know useless information. I'll be back next week here around noonish on Sunday time with more faith, lies, and confusion. Don't know exactly what the topic is going to be, but I'll definitely be back. Before then, I'll definitely be back with AAA Sportscast on Wednesdays. We got some interesting things to talk about. I don't know if anyone has heard the news. If you're sports fans, Anthony Davis has been traded for Luka Doncic. So Luka Doncic is in LA. Anthony Davis is in Dallas. So we'll definitely be talking about that. Probably be doing Super Bowl predictions. I personally think that Kansas City is going to win. Don't matter. It's not my team, but I think that's what's going to happen. And
Is it
again,
Kansas City's turn? Is it Kansas City's turn? Because the Eagles have already had a couple tries. I mean, is it Kansas City's turn?
listen, it's been Kansas City's turn. They won last year. They beat San Francisco. The year before, they beat Philadelphia in the Super Bowl. They're going to beat them again.
Oh, so Philadelphia got something to prove this year. Who's considered the underdog?
I would have to say that the underdog in this situation, I'm not sure, but I would think that Kansas City would actually be the underdog based on the fact that Philadelphia has Saquon Barkley now. He had 2,000 yards this year. I would think that Philadelphia would be the favorite, but I'm not sure. My opinion is until you beat Patrick Mahomes, still the champ.
All right. Well, then I will get my opinions formed by Wednesday, and I will be in the comments as usual. And have a good one. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you for stopping by. It's always a pleasure to have you. Thank everybody for stopping by. Thank you, Erica, for your comments, and for stopping by, and everybody else. Again, I want to thank you for taking your time out today to come to my show. And again, we'll be back next week with a different religious topic. Hopefully, it'll be something new to educate myself on, because again, I don't know everything, especially when it comes to religion, and it's interesting to learn things. So thank you again for stopping by. Everybody have a great day and good night.